This is my show from A to B. Yeah, Shiva here. I'm a senior strategist at Spiro. And I'm talking to Siobhan today. Siobhan, maybe you give like a little quick, like 2 minutes about yourself.
Yeah, I'm Siobhan, and I am the founder of an agency called Raze. I tend to over optimize everything in my life, from my training to my dog schedule to my husband's schedule. So if you hear anything like that, you know where it's coming from.
Building a foundation for an experimentation program has to be done properly. It's not only just checkbox, but like it's like building a house. What do you think are foundational tasks that people like don't give enough attention to?
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said it's like building a foundation of a house. The truth of the matter is that a lot of people that come to us that want experimentation and testing are not mature enough to have it, and frankly don't have enough traffic or revenue coming in to have it really the way they imagine it. When you're not really ready, if it is for a maturity level or a traffic level, it is really helpful to build that foundation because it takes time, and it takes a certain type of culture, and it takes change within the company. I think it really starts with measurement. I think you knew I was going to go there, but it starts with really good measurement. We all know that the majority of analytics setups are faulty. They're going to be even more so now that we're switching to GA4. Um, it's not an out of the box solution. It just isn't. Okay, it's marketed that way, but it's not. It's not just let's put on tracking. You can look at so many websites. It's all wrong. It's not that it's all wrong, but it's like duplicate page views or not tracking whatever. That's the first thing you need to get right. How can you measure any kind of effect of any of the efforts you're putting in, let alone experimentation,
Yep.
without measuring first? So like that's for me the big first step.
If you want experimentation to be done really well, you need to make sure you have a solid research program and researches data to feed into your program. And if you don't have the tools or the means to conduct that research, if you don't have it or it's not set up properly and it's inaccurate, then you're I don't know, it's like you're trying to like I just same example, like you're trying to build the attic when your basement's flooded. Like fix the basement.
Like you said, it's not just analytics, it's user testing. It's just QAing your site and making sure you don't have some basic functional bugs. I
Hmm.
mean, this is basic. It's your analytics, but it's more than that because at some point, analytics is just collecting data points. You still need to create reports. You might need to model that data and include other data points from your Shopify account, from your Facebook, from anywhere else that you might be collecting it, your POS system, who knows? You need to look at the bigger picture. And to be able to do that, you need the qualitative and quantitative data, and you need
Yep.
to be able to trust it. The designer needs to know, oh, wait, I can do user research. I can look at the data and then I can design something that people actually want. The marketing manager needs to think, let me look at the big picture here. Facebook says it's great, but how is it really working? How am I applying my attribution model? How are things working, in relative to each other? The copywriter needs to be able to understand if their copy is working well and need to want to understand. So this whole idea of I'm my own expert and I know what to do needs to change to I want to do what's best for my customer.
If you can't agree on a problem statement or a problem that you guys need to solve, then the idea is like it's going to be a lot harder to agree on an idea. You need to first make
Of
sure that
course.
you all are collectively in the same boat
Yeah.
solving the right problem.
And that's why it's so important to get everyone on board from day one, especially once you've developed that problem and the hypotheses or combined even, because I feel like that is the foundation of the foundation. It's like without you just don't like it's the architectural plan for all you know. It's just doesn't work without it. If you're an agency and you're working with a client, this is what you're bringing to the client to say, this is what I think the problem is. Now I'm going to come up with some ideas, depending on how hands-on they are. There have been plenty of times when the client themselves are like, oh, I have an idea, or we have actually known this problem. And 2 years ago, we tested this with somebody else. Like, oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Gives you more insight. And I think this is why this working together and the culture is so great. There was one client who went in-house. So you know how that is when you're the agency, that's the last agency with them, you tend to kind of train or inform their in-house team quite a bit.
Yep.
And we came up with this idea of making almost a competition around tests. And it wasn't
Mhm.
a competition of is it going to win or not? Although they all added that in the end. A lot of it was, here is the problem. And everyone would throw into the hat how they would address it. Do you have any genius ideas they got this way from different touch points, from customer support to
Yeah.
the developer?
Yeah.
The truth is the best ideas come from customer support.
Mhm.
They're the closest
Yes.
to the users. They're
It's
the ones
free
who are coming
research.
up with ideas. Yeah, it's free research. Those customer support logs are priceless.
Yes.
Like they had ideas like, oh yeah, but clients always say this. So why don't we? Okay, this is awesome. Like that in-house team is rocking
Yeah.
because they have decided that that one sole CRO person, experimentation program, whatever they want to call it, that one person has that whole team around him that's helping
Yep.
without them being anyone on his team.
This collaboration is what allows experimentation to be elevated. Without this collaboration, experimentation is limited to just like optimizing a front end page.
As an agency owner, it's very hard to do this with clients,
Yeah.
right? Because very few times you have access. I think it is lucky because when I start the measurement process, meaning the foundation building, I do insist on a meeting with all the stakeholders. So I do get buy-in very early on, but they're not
Yeah.
involved later, usually. There are some exceptions. But I think for in-house, this is really important. Using your analogy of the house, it's like the pipe system in the house. The water needs to get everywhere. The electricity needs to get everywhere. This is what a good CRO program or experimentation program does, is it doesn't just sit on one thing. To build a good experimentation program, you need to be experimenting with how to run that experimentation program
Oh yeah.
or
Oh
CRO
yeah.
program. And how
Yeah.
often are we willing to do that to ourselves?
What would be your KPIs for testing the experimentation program success?
Hard metrics to measure, right? But it's like communication between teams.
Yep.
I would even measure like how many requests you're getting from different teams.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
variety there, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, there are so many ways you can implement something. You can make it more mechanical, like people have to fill in a form. How many
Yeah.
requests are you getting that way? How many
Yep.
times are you being stopped at the water cooler? You know,
Yep.
how many people are putting their idea on the public board that you threw a problem at? How many people are betting on the results? There's so
Yeah.
many ways you can get people to get involved. It's just, there has to be excitement around it. It has to come
Totally.
from the top.
Totally.
And
Totally.
you need to be creative. I think gamifying it
Mhm.
for me has always worked.
Yep.
People look at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, "Yeah, let's make it a competition." But then suddenly everyone's on board. Everyone cares about the result.
Yeah.
And if you present the result correctly, meaning you
Yeah.
present it with all the information needed, like a little report card or something, then people start taking that information and you know what? They start thinking. They start thinking, wow, this worked or didn't work. How can this be applied somewhere else? Or how can we improve on this result? Yeah.
Maybe you can like build that up to be like your test submission form maybe has a department and you can look and see what departments you have that data to say like,
Yeah.
well, the design gave us 50 ideas, but the sales team only gave us 2.
With all my clients, they get a link.
Yeah.
And it's like the link is like something at add my test usually. And they just get
Yeah.
it. And I tell whoever hired me, usually the CMO or somebody, give this to your team. Let anyone who wants add ideas. The more ideas we get from someone within the team, it's like, or even let them submit problems if they see them. Just, it's not because I'm going to use them all. It's because there needs to be this culture built up. There are some who take this, and there are a lot of times where I'm like, look, nobody uses this.
Yeah.
If nobody uses this, how successful are we going to be? I'm
Yeah.
not using it as an idea generation. I'm using it as a push as an agency with limited spread within the company to get people on board. If you were an in-house person, I would definitely recommend open up every avenue you can. Don't
Yeah.
be the person with the door closed. Don't be the person trying to shut everyone down. Go grab a beer. If people want to tell you over a beer what they think needs to be done, but try to remember
Yeah.
it. But take advantage of that because this is going to be your gold mine.
This was such a fun conversation. The moral of the story, do something.
Thank you, Shiva.